My husband, Ryan, and I first crossed paths in this quirky community emergency response course and instantly clicked. His family seemed perfectly ordinary at first. His dad, Michael, was reserved but kind. His sister, Tara, was genuinely awesome. But his mom, Debra, oh boy. The first warning sign came at our engagement party. While Ryan stepped away to the restroom, Debra leaned over the table, her smile unwavering, and whispered that she'd waited years for Ryan to choose someone truly deserving, and she wasn't about to let just anyone join their family. I brushed it off as a weird joke, but her eyes were chillingly serious. After we tied the knot, things spiraled quickly. She'd show up at our place unannounced at 7 a.m. on weekends, claiming she was dropping off food but clearly checking if we were both home. She'd call Ryan nonstop with made-up crises. One time she called, hysterically claiming she was having a heart attack. We raced over, only to find her lounging, watching TV, casually saying the pain had faded, and urging us to stay for dinner. I tried talking to Ryan about it, but he'd grown up with her manipulation and thought it was just her being caring. He'd say, "That's just Mom, looking out for us." And I'd counter, "No, this is unhinged." It all exploded when I got pregnant. We were thrilled, but wanted to keep it private for a bit. Somehow, Debra knew before we told a soul. She showed up with a tiny baby outfit, beaming, "For my grandbaby." I was barely 6 weeks along and hadn't shared with anyone. When I asked how she knew, she just smirked and said, "A mother's intuition." 2 days later, I was checking our shared calendar on Ryan's tablet and found strange notifications. Reminders for check-in every few days. I clicked one and nearly fainted. They were scheduled calls where Ryan was supposed to update Debra on every detail about me and the pregnancy. She'd been having him spy on me and report back. When I confronted him, he broke down, admitting she'd always been controlling, with access to his accounts, reading our texts, and even installing a family tracking app he couldn't remove. She'd threatened to disown him if he didn't keep her in the loop. I was furious, but also scared. What kind of person does this? We agreed to reset all passwords and set firm boundaries. Ryan promised to confront her. He called her that night, telling her to respect our space. She seemed to take it well, which, in hindsight, was a red flag. A week later, I started getting odd texts from unknown numbers, asking if I was selling my wedding ring or looking for divorce attorneys. Friends called, asking if Ryan and I were okay because they'd heard we were splitting. Turns out, Debra had made fake profiles pretending to be me, posting in local groups that my marriage was done. The worst came when my boss called me in, looking uneasy. He showed me an email from my mother, who's been dead since I was 16, claiming I had severe mental health issues and was faking my pregnancy for attention. It included personal details only someone close would know. I collapsed in his office. When we confronted Debra with proof, she didn't even flinch. She stared at me and said, "Ryan deserves a proper woman from a good family, not some orphan playing wife." I was stunned, but Ryan lost it, yelling at her for the first time, calling her sick. That's when she smiled and said, "I've already called Tara and Michael. They're at our house. We need to discuss Ryan's future and how we'll handle this as a family." Ryan demanded to know what she meant, and she added, "You think this is the first time I've saved you from a mistake? Ask your dad about Jessica." Ryan went pale. Jessica was his high school girlfriend who vanished abruptly. He stammered, "What did you do to her?" Debra just laughed, saying nothing she didn't have coming. "Now come home, son, without her." Ryan grabbed my hand and we bolted. In the car, he was trembling too much to drive. He told me his dad had always hinted that Debra handled a problem with Jessica, but he never grasped what it meant until now. Jessica had been pregnant at 17 and left town after confiding in Debra. We headed straight to a hotel, and Ryan called Tara, putting her on speaker. She was sobbing, confirming our fears. Debra had sabotaged every woman Ryan dated. With Jessica, she'd blackmailed her family until they sent her away. Tara revealed Debra had a file on me from before our engagement. That night, someone tried to open our hotel door at 3 a.m. Ryan looked through the peephole and stumbled back. It was Michael, just standing there, silent. First update. If you read my last post, you know my mother-in-law, Debra, turned my life into a nightmare because I dared marry her son. I wish I could say things calmed down after we fled to a hotel, but nope, that was just the warm-up. If you're hoping for a tidy resolution, go watch a feel-good YouTube vlog. If you want the raw truth about being targeted by your husband's family, keep reading. We left off at the hotel, freaking out in a mid-tier room, processing Michael's creepy 3 a.m. hallway cameo. Ryan was a wreck, pacing, and I was texting my aunt at 3:20 a.m., debating whether to call the cops or rig a booby trap with the hotel iron. We did the panicked couple thing, shoved a chair and my suitcase against the door, checked the peephole obsessively, and whispered to the front desk like we were in a spy movie. The night manager promised to check the cameras, but by the time security showed up, Michael was gone. Awesome job, hotel staff. I barely slept, and when I did, my dreams were all Michael lurking with a knife or, bizarrely, a giant fish. No clue why. My brain's a mess. At 6:30 a.m., the manager called, saying Michael left something for us at the desk. His uneasy tone made my skin crawl. Ryan didn't want to check, but I had to know. He went down while I stood by the door, phone ready to dial 911. He returned with a manila envelope, looking gutted. Inside were 4 childhood photos of him, school portraits, a birthday party, and a note in Debra's sharp, angry handwriting. Family is eternal. We'll forgive you if you come home and talk. Without her. She'd drawn a heart and signed it Mom. I laughed, the kind where you're half crying. Emotional blackmail? Via old photos? Really? Then the calls started. First it was spam, then the hotel phone rang. Super weird. I answered, expecting a wrong number, but it was Debra. Voice syrupy sweet, saying she was in the lobby and needed to speak to Ryan alone, and I'd face consequences for my actions. I said no and hung up. She kept calling, our cells, the hotel line, even Ryan's old WhatsApp account. Her messages got uglier, threatening to tell everyone I was unstable and unfit to be a mother, that she'd contact my aunt, friends, even old neighbors. Ryan finally texted Tara, "We need help. Mom's here." Tara, the family's only sane member, showed up with her boyfriend, Devin, a 6-foot wall of, "Don't test me." I've never been so relieved. Tara brought coffee and snacks, cursing out her mom in the hallway while Devin stood guard like a bouncer. We huddled in the room, sipping bad coffee, trying to plan. Ryan was dazed, Tara was ranting, and I was refreshing my phone, expecting a viral smear post. Devin muttered he'd handle Michael if he showed up. It was the strangest group hangout ever. Around 10 a.m., chaos erupted. Someone pounded on the door, not a knock, but a full-on, "Open up now," bang. Devin checked the peephole. Debra and Michael, looking unhinged. Debra screamed, "This is a family crisis!" Michael stood silently, arms crossed. Devin told them to leave, but Debra shoved the door, cracking it open. The lock held, but she grabbed my arm, yanking hard. I pulled back, screaming, "Let go." Tara tried to pry her off, and Devin yelled at Michael to back off. Hotel staff and a suited manager finally showed up. Debra released me, hissing, "You're destroying everything, you idiot!" The staff threatened to call the police, and Debra ranted about me kidnapping Ryan and endangering the baby. Michael looked uneasy, but said nothing. Tara filmed it all, hope that video never leaks because I look like a sleep-deprived raccoon. The cops arrived, 5 squad cars deep, took statements and banned Debra and Michael from the property. Debra argued, but they shut her down. Tara sent me the video for safekeeping. The adrenaline crash hit hard. I felt shaky, gross, and done. I wanted to go home. But we couldn't. I wanted to call my mom, but she's been gone over a decade. Ryan tried to comfort me, but I just sat, head in hands. Tara sat beside me, whispering I wasn't crazy and that Debra had always been this way, just worse now. She said even Jessica hadn't faced this level of insanity. We checked out before noon. The manager was clearly glad to see us go. Devin offered to drive us anywhere, so we piled into his old SUV, unsure where to go. Home? No way. Another hotel? Debra would track us. Tara's place? Too small, and Michael had a key. Our only option was my dad's house, 40 minutes away, with a killer security system and a lifelong dislike for Debra. The drive was quiet, except for Tara and Devin debating changing their locks. Ryan clutched the photo envelope like it was cursed, and I scrolled through group chats exploding with rumors about our breakup. Pulling into my dad's driveway felt like crossing a finish line. He was on the porch, arms crossed, ready to protect his kid. I hugged him so hard I nearly cracked his ribs. He didn't pry, just handed me tea and said, "You're safe here. Bless old school dads with deadbolts and motion sensors." We crashed in the guest room, finally sleeping a bit, until Debra started calling my dad's phone, demanding he return her son and grandchild. He hung up and blocked her. Ryan still wouldn't block his parents, which infuriated me, but I got his fear. That night, me, Ryan, Tara, and Devin sat around my dad's table, eating takeout and listing Debra's stunts like we were scripting a true crime show. Tara admitted she was scared her mom would target her next. Devin vowed to call the cops if Michael showed up. Ryan kept apologizing until I snapped and told him to stop. This wasn't all his fault. Debra's been this way forever, and no one stopped her. I don't know what's next. We can't stay at my dad's indefinitely, but it's the only safe spot. Debra's still out there, spreading lies, rallying allies. I keep waiting for a knock or another crazy text. Part of me wants to fight back, post the video, go public. But part of me just wants to sleep and pretend this isn't my life. Thanks for reading. I'm not sure if I need advice or just to vent, but it helps to share. Something tells me Debra's not done yet. Second update. Here I am again. If you're still here, you're a champ, and I'm sending you virtual coffee and hugs because reliving this is almost as draining as living it. This is where Debra drags my extended family into her chaos, and it gets uglier. We'd been at my dad's for 3 days like teenagers hiding out, but with more cursing and no privacy. His creaky old house still has an answering machine that beeps constantly. I tried to keep things normal, doing dishes, doom-scrolling TikTok, but my notifications were a mess with new drama. Ryan holed up in the guest room, gaming or pacing. We hoped Debra would get bored if we stayed quiet. Spoiler, she didn't. The first clue things were escalating. My cousin Barbara called out of nowhere. We're not tight, but she's the peacemaker type. She said she'd spoken to Debra, who claimed I was holding Ryan hostage and cutting him off from his family. I tried explaining, but she kept cutting me off, suggesting I meet Debra halfway. I hung up, fuming, and called Tara, who'd gotten a similar call, except Debra said I'd brainwashed Ryan and was keeping the baby from them. Some people bought it. My Aunt Marilyn, Dad's sister, texted him a novel about family unity and how young women don't respect tradition. Debra was working the phones, spinning her tale, and it was gaining traction. Ryan was barely holding it together, muttering about just talking to Mom to fix things. I wanted to scream. Tara and Devin came over with pizza, trying to lighten the mood, but it was tense. Devin was Googling restraining order stories, and Tara made nervous jokes. My dad snapped that he'd call the cops if Debra showed up. The next morning, I found a letter taped to the mailbox, addressed to me in Debra's scrawl. It was a rambling, half-typed, half-handwritten mess, threatening legal action for defamation if I kept lying about her family. It had a fake cease and desist header, like she'd cobbled it together from Google. Tara laughed, but Ryan looked ill. Then my phone lit up with messages from friends and random acquaintances. Debra, or someone, was DMing people, claiming I'd been hospitalized for mental issues and was making up stories. A high school friend sent a screenshot of a local mom group thread with my wedding photo, debating if I was unstable. I rage-scrolled the comments. Someone even asked if Ryan was safe. Ryan tried calling Michael, who just said family comes first, and women get emotional. Devin offered to confront him, but Tara stopped him. We sat in the living room, eating ramen, half waiting for the next disaster. It came at 3 p.m. when the Ring doorbell chimed. Dad checked it, muttering, "You've got to be kidding." Debra and Michael were on the lawn, looking ready for a showdown. I went out with Dad and Tara. Debra demanded to save her son and check on the baby. Michael scanned the house, probably noting cameras. Dad told them to leave or he'd call the cops. Debra got louder, ranting about lawyers and grandparental rights. She tried to push past Dad, and I blocked her. She glared, saying, "You think you can steal my son? You're nothing compared to this family." I told her to go home. She shoved me, hard. Tara caught me as Dad stepped in. Michael yelled at Ryan about throwing his life away. Neighbors peeked out. Devin rushed out, telling them to back off. Debra tried to slap Tara, but Dad grabbed her wrist. She shrieked about assault. The cops arrived, 2 squad cars, officers looking over it. Debra sobbed about her stolen son, but Michael stayed calm, which didn't help her case. They took statements and told Debra and Michael to leave or face trespassing charges. After they left, the house was silent. Ryan cried quietly at the table. Tara hugged him, and Dad said, "You pick your real family." Even Devin looked rattled. I splashed water on my face, trying to calm down. Tara showed me a text from Debra threatening to cut her out of the will for betraying her brother. Tara said she was done. We spent days in hiding. Dad changed the Wi-Fi password after Michael tried hacking our baby monitor. Phones stayed on silent. I barely slept. Ryan stopped eating much and Tara stress-baked. Debra kept calling relatives, claiming I was abusing Ryan and Dad was hiding us. Barbara showed up trying to mediate with cookies and a speech about family rifts. Dad told her to get her facts straight. Then came a typo-filled email from a lawyer threatening me for slander. Dad laughed it off. Debra even told Ryan's old friends he was missing, and I was holding him hostage. Devin offered to stay at our old place to keep watch. I was exhausted, not giving up, just bone-tired. We looked into restraining orders. Dad's lawyer friend gave advice, but it's slow and pricey. Ryan and I fought about moving out of state. He wanted to run. I refused to let Debra win. Then she showed up at Dad's again after dark with Michael. Dad called the cops without opening the door. Debra yelled about her rights as a grandmother. The police warned her she'd be arrested if she returned. Dad added more cameras and a blaring doorbell alarm. Ryan and Tara finally blocked Debra's number. It felt like a stand, but also like bracing for a storm. Debra tried blacklisting me with our old landlord and messaged friends, claiming I was unhinged. Some ghosted me. Others called, skeptical. It stung. One night, Dad showed me a Facebook post from Debra, tagging family, begging for prayers for Ryan's safe return. The comments were a mess. Some supportive, some suspicious. That night, Ryan and I sat outside watching a neighbor's cat. He asked if I still wanted the baby, if I was scared it'd make things worse. I said I didn't know, except that I wanted Debra gone. We sat in silence. The next morning, we decided to act. We prepped for a restraining order. Dad helped with paperwork, Tara offered to testify, and Devin compiled evidence. It felt like fighting back, but Debra doesn't quit easily. Final update. Here's where it gets loud, messy, and I'm still waiting for the next bomb to drop. After Debra's lawn showdown and family smear campaign, we were prepping a restraining order. We were in bunker mode at Dad's. Him checking cameras, Tara crashing on the couch, Ryan leaving coffee cups everywhere. No one could agree on dinner. I kept expecting Debra to appear, but it was eerily quiet, like she was plotting. Filing the restraining order was a slog. So much paperwork, like a grim family craft project. Tara gathered screenshots, Devin compiled videos. His phone's basically a Debra meltdown archive. And Ryan called anyone who'd listen, trying to process. I caught him staring at old photos with his mom, silent. That week, Debra went wild online, posting vague sob stories about losing her son to a scheming outsider and tagging us. She DM'd people begging prayers for her grandchild's safety. Strangers stared at us in stores. Neighbors stopped waving. I got texts from old acquaintances asking if I was okay thanks to Debra's rumors. Dad's church ladies dropped hints about young marriages. I wanted to disappear. Ryan got texts from Michael, guilt trips about selfishness or cryptic Jessica references. Ryan kept reading them, hoping for a sign Michael would step up. He never did. We were snappy, fighting over takeout, chargers, the landline. Dad kept telling me to eat. Tara stress cleaned. Devin started staying at his place more. Even the cat hid when we argued. The day before court, Debra tried serving us grandparents' rights papers, some DIY nonsense she'd filled out. She handed it to me on the porch, smug, saying, "I'll fight for my grandchild." I slammed the door. Dad's court day was unreal. We were up before dawn, Ryan too anxious to sleep. Tara did my hair, hands trembling. Dad wore his old funeral suit. We stuffed evidence into a grocery bag. Ryan and I barely spoke, him tapping his foot, scrolling Reddit. At the courthouse, Debra and Michael stood like statues. Debra wore a church dress. Michael stared at Ryan. The waiting room was tense with a sneezing guy making it weirder. When called, Debra launched into a tearful speech about losing her son and fearing for her grandchild, tissues ready. Michael just sat there. Our lawyer, Dad's friend's friend, presented the evidence: hotel chaos, trespassing, fake profiles, threats. Debra kept interrupting, accusing me of isolating Ryan and poisoning the baby. She tried handing the judge random emails, but he shut her down. When Debra brought up Jessica, the judge demanded clarification. She dodged, just glaring at Ryan, saying, "He knows." Ryan's hands shook. The judge warned her to stop or be removed. She slammed the table, hissing, "You're all wrong." I went next, explaining Debra's harassment since before the wedding, unannounced visits, texts, smear campaigns, the hotel grab. I read her worst messages aloud, saying, "I just want her to leave us alone." Ryan spoke, admitting Debra's lifelong control and how he couldn't let her destroy our marriage. Debra's tears lost their shine. Tara added, voice shaky, "I love my mom, but she's hurting people." The judge granted the restraining order: no contact, no coming near us or Dad's house, a 100-yard buffer. He called Debra's behavior escalating and about safety, not drama. Debra yelled, "This isn't over," and was escorted out. Michael followed, not looking back. We drove back in Devin's SUV, silent. Tara got a text from Debra. "You picked your side, no Christmas for you." She blocked her. The next weeks were about recovery. We stayed at Dad's, Ryan started therapy, and I checked cameras obsessively. Debra went quiet with us, but kept posting online about losing her family. Tara shared court details with cousins, and Barbara apologized for buying Debra's lies. We moved to a new apartment an hour away, with Dad's help and Devin's truck. It's small, but ours, with a deadbolt that feels like freedom. Ryan deleted the tracking app and changed all passwords. We got new numbers, cutting Debra's last threads. Tara tracked down Jessica, now married with kids, who wouldn't talk about Debra but implied her family was scared or paid off. Ryan didn't dig further. He wasn't ready. Debra tried one last trick: a concerned citizen email to our new landlord, calling me a problem tenant. The landlord checked with me, laughed it off after I explained, and Tara's video sealed it. Debra's stunts were losing power. The pregnancy's going okay, despite the stress. Ryan's trying, making bad dinners to cheer me up, reading baby books like manuals. No grandparents get access until we say so, especially Debra. Michael's been silent, and Tara says he's just enabling Debra. She's cut them both off. We're not foolish. Debra's likely scheming, maybe with new fake profiles or prayer groups. But with the restraining order, cameras, and our chosen family, Tara, Devin, Dad, we're stronger. I'm posting again, small stuff like coffee pics, reclaiming normalcy. Ryan's smiling more and I'm sleeping better, though I double-check locks. Debra can't be reasoned with, you just hold your ground. We're holding ours with law, evidence, and stubbornness. If she tries again, I'll update, but for now, I'm hoping for quiet days and a chance to live, not just survive. Thanks for sticking with me.